Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Eric V, and you're listening to the Real Radar Radio Show with me. Out of all people, I shouldn't probably be introducing myself anymore because I feel like that's kind of irrelevant at this point. But, nonetheless, it's Eric V, back with episode 66 of the Real Radar Radio Show. I have a lot to cover. I have a lot to say. I have a lot to talk about. And in the midst of all this, I had a hiccup. I'd like to say I had a hiccup about 2 weeks ago. And this so-called hiccup that I had, and I say so-called because I feel like I kind of made it a bigger deal than what it was. And I feel like I should have, addressed it properly, and I felt like I should have handled it better. And a lot of you probably would agree. So a quick insight about that. I was looking at the podcast at a standpoint where I felt like there wasn't really much to go off of based on how I'm viewing the show and how I feel like I'm not producing the quality content that I feel like I should be producing. I love this show. I have loved this show for years. I have produced so many great things with this show, and I feel like I'm on the cusp of doing something great with it. I am on the cusp of so many great things right now in my life. My wedding is in a couple of months. I'm graduating in the spring. I am nearly done with school. I have a lot going on at the same time, but all at the same time, I'm very grateful. I'm very happy. I'm very thankful for everything that I have up until this point in my life. I am venturing out into so-called bigger and better things. I didn't want it to sound like a cliche or anything, but there's just a lot coming up. There's a lot going on, and in the middle of all this, I felt like I wasn't fit to be doing the show anymore. So I had a setback where I decided to let go of the show. And I felt that was probably the best thing for me to do because it just seemed responsible, It seemed like I had so much on my plate that I was just looking for an excuse to just give up something that, basically that I love. But I sat it through, I thought it through, I, did a lot of, looking into it, and I literally took some time for myself. But in the middle of all this busy craziness, I decided to come back and keep the show. Because what level of sanity do I have left, and what little piece of time do I have left for myself that keeps me happy, that keeps me sane, that keeps me busy, that keeps me doing what I love to do. And I couldn't think of anything better than the show. Sure, I could have gave up the show and just stuck to writing, but to be honest, in the middle of everything, I don't even have time to write. So, of course, you get me doing my podcast while I drive, while I'm at work. It's the best of both worlds. I make money, you guys listening to the show. It's great. But I do want to acknowledge that I am very thankful for everybody who reached out to ask me if I was okay, if the show was okay, if everything was fine. I really appreciate everybody checking in on me and, voicing their concern, making sure everything was all good. I'm good. I'm back. I'm happy. I'm ready to get back into the show. I'm tired of not doing the show, and it's kind of, becoming a pain in the ass to stay away, because I should know better, and I think that moving forward, as the show gets a little bit older, I'm thinking I'm going to break up these episodes, and I'm going to probably end the first season of the Real Radar Radio Show pretty soon. And with that, I'll probably be jumping right into season 2, episode 1, to get things kind of moving along, not to have any more hiccups or anything else, get in the way or try to make up any other lame excuses or something. But an entire heap load of things are going on at the exact same time. Everything's coming together in the entertainment industry. For example, there is so many days left until Halloween. And with the Halloween coming around, the Halloween season coming around, that's getting everybody excited, getting everybody prepared. I am putting plans in motion for a great Halloween, a great Halloween horror themed month of October. And like I do with every year, I plan to make each and every show bigger and better than the year before. So this year, without giving away too much or jumping the gun, I will be adding a new segment to the show where I will be reading and adding special effects to some spooky stories, scary stories that I'm going to be reading on the show as part of a new segment, as part of the new Halloween segment rolling around the corner. So that should be a lot of fun. I can't think of that one. It's on the tip of my tongue as I know the name of it. That one format where storytelling. There you go. Jeez, right there. I want to do like a kind of like a audio visual thing where I tell you a story and you kind of play it up. Add some sound bits, some sound effects, some music. I kind of make it sound pretty badass. I mean, I think I have the capabilities and the means to do all that. So I'm looking into royalty-free music. Obviously, I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube anymore because 3 emails from YouTube about my video being flagged for copyright infringement. It's like, what? Okay. So putting that to a side, really quick, as you guys know, in the past, I've been contacted by YouTube like 3 or 4 times about the use of music in my show. So, when it came down for me to do episode 66, this episode, you would probably notice that in the beginning, the intro to the show was more of a, quick 30-second thing where just jump right into the show. I'll explain why. With what I had just explained about YouTube coming down on me, I had to find a way to still create a worthy intro. And even though this may not sound compressed or, long as it is, because I don't want you guys to be sitting there listening to my intro for a whole minute or two and be like, when's he going to talk? For a 45-minute show, you'd probably expect a good at least 44 minutes of the show. 44 and a half minutes seems pretty logical. So, I smashed 2 bits together really quickly. I searched for actual royalty-free content for the past day or 2, and I came back with these 2 bits. So, and these are not the only 2 bits that I found. I found maybe about a good 7 or 8 of them, but these 2, I think that kind of go good together. So I kind of felt better about putting these 2 being the intro show for today. Not too sure if I'm going to put it on for the next show. Might be a little different. Might add some, some sort of a formal intro to the show. Still seeking for someone to possibly maybe help me. If you guys can maybe point me in the direction of maybe someone who can do a great intro for me, I would be greatly appreciated. And I would really appreciate any and all help that I could get at this point. I really want a professional intro done for the show. Nothing fancy, 30 seconds long, 20, 30 seconds long. Hey, I mean, obviously, I'd like to jump into the show as quickly as I can because, like I said, there's a lot to cover. So, that being said, that being all said and done, we can finally move into the show, right? All right, so a lot of things going on in the entertainment industry, as I had previously mentioned. Since the last show, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood released in theaters, and I still have yet to see it. I still want to see that movie, Good Boys, the Seth Rogen produced movie. That looks funny as hell. Recently went to go see Angel Has Fallen last Sunday, and I gotta say, man, I'm really surprised and really happy with how this film kind of, added to the franchise. And I'm not a big Gerard Butler fan, but I will say, though, I mean, the use of Morgan Freeman in this film, although it may seem like he was utilized very minimally in this part of the movie, I want to say that it's probably the best one that he had done for the whole franchise. And I think this leaves the door open for a part 4. I hope so, because watching Olympus Has Fallen, watching all these films come together, and it's like, man, like, I have a whole new level of respect for Gerard Butler. I didn't really like him outside of 300. I mean, that was the first movie I saw Gerard Butler in, was 300. And then I saw him in other movies like The Bounty Hunter, and I saw him in something else, or where he was pretty funny, and it was pretty good. But man, I do have to say that Angel Has Fallen is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty surprised with how it all played out, and I'm looking forward to a part 4. Hopefully it will come down sooner than later. And I'm not trying to bash on Jada Pinkett Smith's involvement in Angel Has Fallen, but man, I think her character could have been done away with overall. I mean, I really think that there was no point of including her character in the film, because it just kind of seemed redundant after all that. So there's certain key points in the movie that I'm not going to give away, obviously, because there's some people out there that do want to watch that movie. There's certain parts in the film where it just doesn't seem logical to have her involvement in the film at all. There is a couple of things that I will, say that, hey, that her character did kind of, provided a pretty good, cool, insight to go along with the plot. But I gotta say, man, I mean, I'm baffled at the fact that her character was actually a thing. It kind of felt like more of like a dragging on more than a, aiding the storyline kind of thing. You take, the attack against the president, Morgan Freeman, in the film, and how that all played out and unraveled, and, of course, you're gonna look to the guy who's been his top agent for the past few years, Mike Banning, aka Gerard Butler. So you take his character and you automatically assume the guy that has saved the president on 2 different occasions, 3 if you include part 1 where his wife died, played by Ashley Judd, who died in the car accident, whatever. I mean, you take that into consideration, where he has, pretty much helped take over the White House from terrorists, and, helped save the president in part 2 in England, and, he pretty much put his life on the line. And that was kind of this not a huge, revelation that, of course, they're going to blame him for the attempted assassination on Morgan Freeman in the film. I mean, not a shocker there, but it is smart how they played it, and how they, were able to pin it on him and this and that. From the get-go, you can tell basically who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, who's your antagonist, who's your protagonist, how it all is going to play out, and so on and so forth. I was a little disappointed at the fact that it was kind of that obvious as to know what was been going on. The shocker, though, was the involvement of, another character towards the end, but you kind of look at it from a standpoint where, you know what, this kind of played out the same way as it did in that movie with Channing Tatum and White House Down with Jamie Foxx. Kind of sort of in the same realm there, a little hit and miss, but overall, I think that this film, solid A. I would recommend everybody to go see it. Of course, your own personal analysis and opinions, valued at 100%. I totally respect it. I'd really like to hear somebody else's argumentative point or, opinion on this film to see how it, coincides with mine. I'd love to talk about it. Love to talk film, love to talk movies and reviews. Again, a solid A. Grade on my thing. So that's been on the radar and it's off. So moving forward, there has already been the digital release for Child's Play. There has already been plans for the DVD release coming up in September. The digital release of Avengers Endgame is already available along with the Blu-ray and DVD combo, packed with bonus features, deleted scenes, and, extra screen time. That a lot of things have kind of been a little bit iffy and, hit and miss there too. But I'm kind of past Endgame. There's been a lot of Endgame things going on, but more so, not so much Endgame as I would want to talk about this whole merger that Disney has going on with Sony. And as a lot of you may know by now, Disney and Sony had a falling out, which kind of seemed like it was Sony's fault for, the whole thing about backing out with the whole Spider-Man deal with Disney. Comes to light that Disney's the one that wants a 50-50 profit margin, split 50-50, to kind of, make it even for, everybody at the House of Mouse. But you kind of look at this from a business standpoint, and you're thinking, you already own Marvel, you own Fox, you own 20th Century Fox, you own all the Fox properties, you just had a huge buyout of the Fox properties, ESPN, everything else in between. You now own Hulu. What more do you want? I mean, there's just so much that you can do and, kind of make it, work. I mean, you got so many films coming down the pipeline with all the films that they announced at D23 and all the shockers that came out at D23 and Comic-Con. Mind you, there's a new reboot or reiteration of The Blade coming out with Mahershala Ali playing Blade. Okay, so you got the Phase 4 setting up, you got the Eternals, you got shows that are coming to Disney Plus, which, by the way, is another thing that I am going to talk about, because it's like, all right, hold on, Disney, you're kind of stealing the spotlight. Back to the Sony Disney deal, where it's just not, matching up. I mean, are you really going to be that? I hate to say greedy, but I mean, it's kind of a dick move that you kind of want a 50-50 deal when you already promised like a 90-10 deal with Sony for so many years for the use of Spider-Man when he first came in Civil War, and you kind of, ushered him into have his own Into the Phase and, into Endgame and into Infinity War, and you kind of, led that on to, having his own two solo and greedy's not like the statement of the century. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, you're kind of phasing out Spider-Man when he already has like a place set at the table to be in the Avengers and to be in the next phase. And he had a successful run, at the box office, with his two, outings as Spider-Man. He turned a huge profit for Sony with Far From Home. I think it's like their all-time leading film of all time now over at Sony. I mean that says a lot. I mean that's a great business proposition between Marvel and Disney and Sony to kind of share the character and let Sony keep the profits. I mean, you already get 10% of all merchandising that comes from him. And what's 10% out of this whole business deal anyway? I mean, it's still ranging in the millions, I'm assuming. But I mean, you're talking huge dollar if you're really trying to chase this 50-50 margin, because I mean, I feel like it's kind of redundant at this point for you to go 50-50 on a character that, yes, is part of the Marvel universe, but without this deal, you can't have Spider-Man kind of, mention other characters that are in the MCU and kind of not, you're kind of twisting it on its head just a little bit. And then there's rumors about how Tom Holland feels about MCU, how he unfollowed Sony on Twitter, and how what this means moving forward. Is he going to cameo or have a bigger part in Venom Part 2? Is Venom going to have a place in Spider-Man's world? Are we done seeing Tom Holland as Spider-Man? There's just so many things going on right now that it's horrible to hear. I for one hate to hear it, because there's no need. There's no need to separate something that has been a great business proposition for the past 3-4 years, since 2015, and has been going on, and it's been continuously moving forward, and you're kind of just spinning it on its head, and it's not helping anybody in the long run. So Disney, get your shit together, make a better deal with Sony, give them the deal that you had given them for the past couple of years, turn a good profit on the merchandising, and hey, maybe one day it'll come back full circle. I mean, at this point, the only thing that would really fuck this up is if Disney was to buy out Sony, and oh man, that would be the biggest fucking thing ever for anybody and everybody. So, with that being said, man, I don't know. A little iffy, little tired, little wired, but what are you gonna do?